hardcore Henry. The film starts with a memory from Henry's childhood. 3 bullies stand before him, and one of them is holding a toy of Henry's. The bully hurls the toy against the wall and smashes it. Henry's father arrives at the scene, causes the bullies to escape, and looks at him and says, "You little pussy." The adult Henry wakes up in a facility. A woman named Estelle brings him up from a water tank. Henry sees he's missing his left forearm and his left leg below the knee. Estelle replaces them with robotic limbs. Henry is unable to speak because his voice box hasn't been installed yet, and he has no memory of how he got to where he is. Estelle claims that she is Henry's wife. She returns his wedding ring and brings him into a room with 2 other scientists, Robbie and Timothy. They prepare to install Henry's voice until a team of mercenaries led by Akan storm in. They blow the door open, crushing Robbie. Akan tells Henry his wife might have built him, but he gave her raw material. He then asks Timothy to explain Henry's arrival at the facility. Timothy says that Henry's limbs were shot off and his skull was fractured badly until now. Akan then uses telekinetic powers to levitate Timothy and stab him to death. Estelle plays a loud sound to hold the mercs off and give her and Henry a chance to run. As they escape, Estelle tells, Akan plans to create an army of soldiers similar to Henry from the dead. She leads him to an escape pod for the 2 of them. They are ejected from the facility, which happens to be up in the sky. The pod lands on a bridge. They crash, fortunately survive it. After Henry pulls Estelle out of the pod, another team of mercenary led by Yuri arrive. Estelle tells Henry to engage them. Henry punches Yuri and gets a few good hits, but the mercenaries take him down, and Yuri tases Henry, which pushes him off the bridge. He lands on a car, after which they search for him. He then runs into a freight container. There he stabs one of the mercenaries with a mirror wiper, finds a car and turns it on, letting it roll out to hit the mercenaries. He fights the mercenaries until a van runs through and plows through the villains. The driver is a man named Jimmy. He kills 2 other mercenaries and tells Henry to follow him. Knowing who he is, as they drive, Jimmy tells Henry to open the glove box, where he finds a charger for his body. They are stopped by 2 cops, who turn out to be dirty crooks working for Akan. They shoot Jimmy in the head, forcing Henry to run through the subway for safety. The cops find him there, but Henry fights them and shoots one of them to death. Henry runs back out into the streets and onto a bus. There he finds Jimmy, actually a clone, dressed like a homeless man. He rips a tracking device out of Henry's arm and then tells him to find a man named Slick Dimitri and take his charge pad from under his heart, and then to meet up with Jimmy after the task is complete. Jimmy then looks out the window and sees a man in a metal suit. He sticks his head out to make fun of him until the man wields a flamethrower. Homeless Jimmy gets burnt alive, and Henry must run again. Henry finds the building where Dimitri is located. He climbs the building and enters through a window. He kills the goons he comes across before making it into Dimitri's room. Dimitri is motionless. On his monitor, Estelle appears to tell Henry that Akan has begun with his plan and is preparing his army. Dimitri then springs up and attacks Henry. Henry and Dimitri have a gunfight, and he chases Dimitri through the building and then through the city. Dimitri stumbles, giving Henry a chance to beat him. Dimitri then says he has something to say regarding Jimmy, but his head is blown off by a bullet before he can say anything else. During the shootout, Henry drags Dimitri's body and removes the charge pad, which after he evades the mercenaries. Henry arrives at the location Jimmy told him to find him, which is a brothel. Henry meets cokehead clone Jimmy laying with 5 women. He is running out of power and falls. Jimmy tries to put the charge pad into Henry's chest, but he's in a bad condition to do so. He leaves Henry with the women, who comment on Henry being cute and then start playing with him. He starts seeing memories of himself and Estelle getting intimate. A more shaped-up clone Jimmy shows up and installs the booster pad. Henry is charged up and confused, seeing multiple Jimmy. But before Jimmy tries to explain, Jimmy receives a call. More villainous mercenaries show up. Shaped-up Jimmy leave while cokehead Jimmy wakes. Henry shoots through the mercenaries before reaching a room where Akan is sitting. He kills a man by flinging a silver plate into his head. Akan uses his telekinetic power to fling Henry around the room and into the air vent, which land him to the parking lot, also with cokehead Jimmy's dead body. He finds another clone Jimmy, which they both torture a mercenary to reveal Akan's whereabouts. 2 dominatrix assassins, Katia and Olga, run into Jimmy and Henry, who also have a bone to pick with Akan. Jimmy then orders Henry to hop on a motorcycle and chase after one of Akan's vans. They catch up with the vans and shoots more mercenaries on the van with a Gatling gun. Henry gets on top of a van to fight the mercenaries. Jimmy gets shot by one of the mercenaries while Henry uses a grenade to destroy the van. With the help of the dominatrix assassins, he gets to the main van and stabs 2 more goons before he finds Estelle. They have a moment until Akan appears on the monitor and taunt them before he blows a hole into the van to make his entrance. Yuri uses Estelle as hostage, while Akan uses a baseball bat to knock Henry out. Henry awakens in the woods, surrounded by more mercenaries who are trying to bury him. They get quickly killed off by another hippie clone Jimmy. Henry follows him and another woman until they get killed by an explosion. Henry faces more mercenaries, including a few riding a tank through the woods. He slices his way through them before getting attacked by a chopper. He kills some of the mercenaries in the chopper before he is cut off from the fast road. Jimmy gives Henry a location to meet him. He arrives at the location where he meets sniper clone Jimmy. Henry follows him to an abandoned apartment building where Jimmy's laboratory is located as a disguise. First, he comes across some dirty cops attempting to rape a woman. Henry kills 2 of the cops before squeezing the last one's crotch like a grape and then shoving a shotgun barrel down his throat. Henry enters Jimmy's apartment and his lab and sees a video of Jimmy working with Akan to create his cyborg army from the remains of deceased men. When the experiment went wrong, Akan crippled Jimmy by shattering his spine. The original crippled Jimmy rolls in and shows off his several clones to Henry through a rehearsed dance routine. Punk Jimmy then accuses Henry of being a traitor because he is involuntarily broadcasting his whereabouts to Akan. Original Jimmy decides to trust Henry and make sure that Akan doesn't get anywhere near the lab. 3 of the clones, Punk, Sniper, and Colonel, lead Henry outside to face the onslaught of mercenaries heading toward the building. Henry and Sniper Jimmy snipe some of the mercenaries down below, while Punk gets some kills from the ground before getting blown up. Sniper Jimmy leaves Henry to join the Colonel as he drops himself down with a grenade. Henry meet with Colonel. They shoot and blow up some mercenaries, killing them one after the other around the building. As they try to leave with the real Jimmy and one other clone, Yuri and his mercenaries arrive, but Colonel kills them by blowing up the ceiling and bringing it down on them. They drive to Alan's facility, where they get attacked by some of Akan's cyborgs. Jimmy has been hit with a shard in his jugular. Knowing he's dying, he tells Henry that he had seen him originally before he had woken up and noticed a memory block in his head and had it left in there. But he knows that some of his memories are returning. The Colonel dies, but before the real Jimmy dies, he says it's good to have had Henry as a friend and asks him to make sure he looks into Akan's eyes as he kills him. Henry makes it to a room. It is revealed that Akan has his cyborgs ready to go. He also reveals to Henry that all of them woke up the same way Henry did, with Estelle claiming to be their wife and acting as though she loved them, including Henry. Akan unleashes the cyborgs upon Henry. He proceeds to kill them in every which way imaginable, shooting, stabbing, grenades, heads blown off, sliced off, eyes gouged out, etc. Henry makes it to the roof to face Akan, but he is taken down by Akan's powers, and even harder when Estelle shows up, clearly on Akan's side. Akan taunts Henry as he's down and knocks him to the side, where he faces some glass, and we get a vague look at Henry's face, which is similar to that of his father's. We see the childhood flashback again. Henry's father says his own father used to call him a pussy, and he feels he proved him right by killing the wrong people. But he vows to call Henry by his own name and tells him to fight back. In the present, Henry grabs 2 adrenaline needles and continues killing the rest of the cyborgs. He ties barbed wire around his hand and manages to get close enough to Akan to hurt him. He splits Akan's hand apart painfully. Akan uses his powers to lift Henry up, but Henry gets close again and pulls out his own eye stalk to wrap it around Akan's head and sever the top half off. Estelle is in the chopper about to leave, where Henry boards the chopper and shows off Akan's head to Estelle. She furiously shoots at Henry until he holds his hand up, causing the bullet to ricochet and strike her. Estelle stumbles out of the chopper and hangs on. She pleads with Henry to listen to his heart. Apparently, his heart told him to close the door on her fingers and let her plummet to the ground below. Thanks for watching.